All right. Welcome back to All Cars, my friends. If you're new here, my name is John, and it is time for a Motorweek reaction. This is not a retro review, technically. This is the 2017 Lincoln Continental. So technically, it's not a retro review that they've scrounged around in a box of old Betamax tapes and uploaded. This is legitimately just one of their, what is a 7-year-old videos. But I felt we needed to do it. One of the advantages here of those of you who follow me and watch my videos is you do get to see my opinion change and my thoughts and my interests change over time. And relatively recently, I've been lamenting the loss of big, premium American cars. The Lincoln doesn't really fit that. I'm thinking something below the Lincoln level, but above Ford. Something where the old Buick cars, the old Oldsmobile cars used to sit. But it got me thinking about this. And a few weeks ago, I did the, I was in an 88, I think, Continental retro review reaction. I didn't really love that car. I think I'd be very happy with one, but I didn't really love it. This is a car that I've always kind of lusted after. I'll get more into it as we get into it, but I wanted to do this one. It's the newest car I've ever done on one of these, so I appreciate you being here, but let's jump into it. As always, grab your beverage of choice. Today we've got some fully leaded coffee. This video brought to you by Tim Hortons. Not because they sponsored me at all, but because I have a huge box that I was given a gift of Tim Hortons Keurig cups. And I love Tim Hortons coffee. So it's brought to you because I wouldn't be awake without it. And sit back in that comfy chair and let's get into it and see all the way back 7 years ago what Motorweek said about the Continental.
Motorweek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, State Farm, and WeatherTech.
Lincoln Continental is truly an iconic luxury car name. So the brand made quite a splash when they unveiled a new Continental concept at the New York International Auto Show back in 2015.
I'm not a classic car aficionado. I know there's so many people out there, they really get into just classic cars in general, or a specific model, or a specific year of a specific generation of a specific model. I'm not. I can appreciate the beauty of some old models. How can you look at this old one right here and not just fall in love? That is absolutely gorgeous to my humble eyes.
But that excitement quickly escalated when they announced they were actually going to build it. Well, we've finally gotten our hands on one to see if the hype and the wait were worth it. For 2017, Lincoln unleashes an all-new flagship Continental sedan. An imposing four-door unlike anything from the brand since the 1990s. But really, you'd have to go back much further to find a Lincoln truly worthy of the Continental name. There's a trio of V6 engines to choose from, starting with...
Before they get into the engines there, let's talk about the styling. I love it. I really do. This, there's a couple of things I don't love about it. I'm not absolutely enamored with. But holistically, as a package, it speaks to me. It really does. It touches me. And, if I nitpicked it a little bit, the grille is a touch too small. The headlights, I think it's because they're angled. There's something about them. The headlights always look slightly misplaced to me. Like they just picked them off another car and put them on here. And the tail, same thing. What you end up with is, I think this is fantastically gorgeous. I think this is one of the best looking American sedans in a long, long time. I'm not going to put a year on it. But I do think that it comes across a little narrow and the proportions are just, it's like a little narrow and a little long. The proportions are just a touch off. And I'm saying that from the perspective that if you look at a BMW and you look at a Mercedes and you look at this, it just seems off a little bit. But I think it's gorgeous. I love the touches. I love the grille. I love the bright work around the grille. I love the Continental name kind of embossed into the side there. The touch of bright work around the rear of it. Exterior styling. It's not perfect. And I don't think it rises to the classic level of like that other one they showed, the old one. But this car really, really speaks to me. I wanted one when they came out, but even today, I couldn't afford it.
With a 305 horsepower naturally aspirated 3.7 liter. Next step up is a 380 horsepower 2.7 liter EcoBoost. Both of those front-wheel drive with all-wheel drive available. Top tier is a 3-liter EcoBoost, which comes with all-wheel drive only. Output here is 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, all working through a 6-speed automatic transmission. The Continental is by no means a sports sedan, but it's sportier than it probably needs to be for target buyers. More importantly, the ride quality is exquisite. With continuously controlled damping, it levitates down the highway like a modern luxury sedan should.
You know, that's... They said it more eloquently than I would be able to. But that's what I'm talking about right there. You know, I would be fine with the base engine, honestly. I mean, 305 horsepower, more than enough for me and my, tootling around to the grocery store. That mid-level one, 380, that more than doubles the power of my current car. That 400 all-wheel drive, though, oh my goodness, ooh, I'd love to have a few minutes in one of those. But the combination of ride, power, and when you think about American luxury, a exquisite ride, and effortless power, right? That's what I think of. And then that he said it's not a sports sedan, but it's probably sportier than most of the drivers would need. Well, that's, to me, the way it should be balanced. Of not, it's a sports sedan and we made it ride okay, but how about we made it ride fantastic? And it's got that level of competency behind it. Fantastically worded. Love it.
The adaptive steering takes a little time to get used to, feeling overly heavy at times, touchy light at others, while the pedals also seem overly sensitive, requiring smooth inputs. There is Lincoln Drive Control with multiple driving modes, but if you choose anything other than comfort, you're kind of missing the point of the car. There's a wide open space inside with not much of a cockpit feel. The front seats offer a wealth of adjustments and are supremely comfortable. In the rear, seats feel more cozy with some adjustments of their own. There's still lots of room, though if you add the rear seat package, you can go with more of a 2+2 motif after folding down the huge center console. The integration of technology throughout is done very well, with plenty of real controls remaining, though some of the buttons are quite small. Lincoln has done a masterful job of disguising the Ford Fusion bones that lie below the surface. The interior is leaps and bounds above any Lincoln in recent memory. IP and door treatments are quite nice to the eyes and touch. Our only but is the uninspired pebble grain dash top pad. So great environment, if still a little short of what some other premium brands such as Volvo are achieving.
Fantastic interior. I loved the interior. They touched on something, and I'll bring it up at the end, that when this car was released, there was a review I read, I think it was from Car and Driver, that really encompassed this car. And I'll bring it up at the end. If you just look at pictures of this, you can see a Ford Fusion inspiration to the interior. It's much, much nicer than that. And it's more speaking to what Ford corporate design language for interiors was at the time. And considering the fact of how much I like the Fusion and I love the interior, this just takes it to another level. I think that the gauges are fine. Looking back 7 years when she was manipulating the map, that looks a little slow. Okay. But everything else, I love it. The only thing I never really loved was the park reverse neutral drive buttons. They look great in pictures. I think in concept they're great, putting them up here, opening up the center. But in person, whether it was the Continental or it was the MKZ or whatever happened, it always just came across a little chintzy in actual practice. But that's a relatively minor complaint. And them to say that the pebble grain on the plastic of the dash is behind some of their competitors, I get that. I buy that. It's one of the knocks against the car, but I don't think that truly matters when you look at the rest of what it offers and the design touches. Fantastic interior. I love it. I love it.
A sizable trunk holding 16.7 cubic feet of cargo features a very easy-to-find release. The Continental displays a very stylish grille. It is very sleek and posh with just enough of the 60s Lincoln vibe to go along with a modern Bentley-ish presentation. 19-inch wheels are standard here in reserve trim and add a sporty flair. Base models ride on 18s with 20s optional. On the street, it's easy to forget it's such a big car, but at the test track, it surely reminds you the whole way through the cones. There's a little give as you enter the corner, but the car sets up quickly, almost fully eliminating the body roll you think is surely coming. With all-wheel drive, there was also a commendable level of grip, while steering was quick with good on-center feel. There was top-notch traction for a firm hole shot as well, springing to 60 in just 5.4 seconds. The engine gets a nice growl to it. It pulls quickly through first and second gears, then things taper off once you hit third. But we still made it to the end of the quarter in just 13.7 seconds at 105 miles per hour. Government fuel economy ratings with the all-wheel...
Hold on, before they go on to the fuel economy, impressive results. I mean, with the amount of power you've got, that shouldn't be a surprise. But solid results. And through the slalom, absolutely no drama. A little more movement, I think, than you would expect from a contemporary like BMW, something like that. But I'd give up that for the ride here. Just impressive results, very impressive results overall.
Wheel drive 3-liter are 16 city, 24 highway, and 19 combined. Our mixed driving average was quite good at 23.2 miles per gallon of regular. That's an average energy impact score of 17.3 barrels of oil used per year with CO2 emissions of 7.7 tons. Lincoln seems to have a Continental for everyone. Priced at just $45,645 to start, but wants to be sure people know it is a true luxury sedan and have priced top black label trim accordingly at $64,000. Look at spending around $75,000 for a highly optioned reserve model such as our test car. Like the 2015 MKC crossover, the 2017 Lincoln Continental sedan is very well conceived and executed. It is also possibly the best Lincoln ever. But despite strong sales at the outset, it still faces an uphill climb towards rekindling lasting interest in the brand. That said, the new Continental is unmistakably a revival of classic Lincoln values, but with a major dose of modern driving attributes. A car that cements the solid foundation for the brand to build upon.
Really solid review. Possibly the best Lincoln. I mean, they complimented the MKC along the way too. really, really impressive review. It breaks my heart. I do not look up, I do not watch these in advance, right? I do not look up sales data beforehand. But this didn't sell very well. And it's a shame because they pulled it off the market. They dropped all the rest of their cars as well. And Ford just stopped investing in Lincoln cars. That price range strikes me as extremely fair, as a matter of fact, for the way they were saying how large it was, how well it rides, the interior touches, everything else. Starting at 45 and being able to option up from there strikes me as very fair. I wouldn't pay it. I didn't pay it. I would not have paid it. But careful optioning, and I'd much rather drive one of these than a BMW, for example, or maybe even an Audi. I can really nitpick the exterior styling. It's premium, it's luxury, but it's not got a presence other than size. Interior wise, like I said, looks a little Ford Fusion, but in person, I really, really liked it. And that brings me back to that review that I think it was Car and Driver. And when this car came out, Car and Driver, they found some word, okay? And the word means that people get freaked out if something's too close to real. Like, we're okay with our Roomba vacuuming, but if you get a far too close to human android, we get freaked out about it. We know it's not real, but it looks too close. There's a word for it, whatever it is. And that was their description of the Continental. That the more time you spent with it, it looks like a luxury car. It looks like it would be competing with the Audis, BMWs, Jaguars, and Mercedes. But the little touches like the switchgear and things like that Ford cheapened out on and went into their parts bin for, gave it this impression that it's just not quite there, and that it was almost unsettling to them. And I think that's what killed this vehicle. Is congratulations to Ford for bringing it out, and little touches like where the handles were on the door, right at the base of the window, putting in those 3 engines, giving it the style inside. But ultimately, they pulled back. They weren't ready, I believe, to truly invest in beating the Germans, at least in the quality of the materials inside. And it held this car back. And the other problem is that in spite of how well it was reviewed, and I think Doug DeMuro did one as well that, as I recall, was very, very positive, the price by the time you got up there. And if you remember, they actually had, a couple years, I think it was, of putting suicide doors on it in like this pearlescent white. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Wow. Woo. But suddenly, if you're talking about a $75,000 fully optioned, there's a lot of other cars out there to consider. I love this car. I would not swing it. If I could afford a $75,000 car, I'm not sure I'd buy this. But this ranks as one of the most memorable cars of possibly the last 10 years for me. I like it that much. And I hate that instead of investing in it and doubling down and really going for it, Ford just let them all go. Let me know what you think below, guys. I appreciate you being here for kind of a long one. Thanks.